Is it better to try to lose weight fast over a short period of time, or is it better to lose weight slowly over a longer period of time? If you've been asking yourself this question, first of all, I'm proud of you, because that means you're not necessarily influenced by all the quick fix that you see out there. But let's talk about what it does in terms of body composition, fat loss, weight regain, metabolism, all those nice things. Let's go. First, let's talk exactly what fast versus slow weight loss actually is. First, we've got the slow weight loss, which actually falls within the 0.5 to 1% of your body weight loss, obviously, per week. So it really depends on, how big you are, because someone being 200 pounds versus someone being 120 isn't going to lose as much, even if it still falls within that frame. So it's basically 1 pound per week, which equates to roughly 10 pounds until 2026. Maybe 9, because I don't know when I'm posting this video. 1 pound or 500 grams per week is roughly 500 calorie deficit, which really I would consider to be moderate. Then we have what we call rapid weight loss, which is basically anything above that. It's usually 800 calorie deficit, and it's often a 2 pounds per week weight loss. And we also have a third category that you might see for very severely morbidly obese people, when they would go on very low calorie diet, eating less than 1200 calories, if not less than that, per day. That's often done in supervision, maybe in some sort of clinic or hospital to do that. So it's not something that I would recommend doing on your own, but that exists. We are only going to focus on the first two categories, which are slow weight loss and fast weight loss. Now that we have the definitions, let's do a little pros and cons, because that's always what I do when I want to decide on something. I'm always going to do a pros and cons list. Let's start with the pros for the fast weight loss. One of the things that I found, which I was kind of surprised by when I started this research for, this video, was this specific study that compared, obviously two groups of people, one being on the fast weight loss track, the other one being on the slow. And I was surprised to see that those on the fast weight loss, journey would actually have better health markers at the end, and actually faster improvements in terms of health markers. What I mean by that is insulin sensitivity, lipids, glycemic control, all of these were actually better than for the slow weight loss groups. So if maybe you're diabetic or something like that, if insulin is something you need to control quickly, that might be a better thing. Let's keep going with one of the major reasons why fast weight loss can actually be better, which is you see quick results. Therefore, you're more motivated to keep going. Because who's never, actually started something slow and then you don't really see the results really quickly. So you're kind of well, maybe it's not working, might as well quit. Whereas when you see, the numbers on the scale dropping really quickly day by day, aren't you motivated to keep going because it's working? You've got that dopamine and, that rush in the brain of, oh my God, I'm doing something, it's working. That's that reward of seeing the weight drop, and therefore you're more likely to be consistent with it until you get to your weight goal. And 3, not having to stay in a deficit for as long is obviously a good thing, because if you get to your weight goal way before the person doing the slow weight loss, you're going to be able to, reverse diet and get back to the new maintenance for your new body, and therefore eat more way before you actually feel that mental fatigue, basically, of having, and physical fatigue, because let's be honest, being in a calorie deficit, it takes its toll on your body. You do get tired of it. So you actually don't have to stay within that. You're basically in and out very quickly. So it's not as hard on your mind, it's not as hard on your body, and you can get back to eating more way earlier, which is definitely, in my books, a pro. Now let's talk about the cons, basically, and the risk or disadvantage, whatever you want to call it. The first one, and that's referring to the same study I was talking about earlier, you will risk losing more lean body mass than if you do, a slow weight loss. And I've been experiencing that firsthand when I first started, because when I first started, I didn't ask myself the question, should I do slow, should I do fast? I went for fast because I wanted to lose weight. Little did I know, I ended up losing a lot of muscle, and I wasn't building any because I was only doing cardio. Therefore, my problem was that I ended up still skinny fat, just a smaller version. So I was constantly not happy with my body because I had lost those muscle. Another huge problem with losing muscle is that you end up lowering your metabolism, because muscle is the most metabolically active thing in your body. So you burn the most calories when you have a lot of muscle, even at rest, and you don't have to look like a bodybuilder. When you're in a big deficit, it's difficult, for example, to get all your proteins in, or even when you're like in an 800, even more of a deficit, your body's gonna start like literally eating the muscles away because it needs the protein, because it needs a nutrient, and that's why you end up losing some of your lean body mass, and that's a massive con for me. The second one is kind of off what I was just saying, but you risk lowering your metabolism because of what I was just talking about, but also metabolic adaptation. Your body might reduce the amount of calories you burn at rest, or even when you exercise, if you do on your fat loss journey, weight loss journey, which I highly recommend, because it doesn't like being in a big calorie deficit. And I really understand that. Like, imagine, and that's the example I always use, imagine you earn 2,000 euros, pounds, dollars, whatever, every single month, and you just spend all of that. Okay. Then the next month, you only get half of that. You're not going to spend 2,000. Obviously, it's not an immediate thing, like your body will start losing weight at first, but you risk that it will lower your metabolism too much, and then it's kind of a process to build it back, which again, I had to do. That was not fun. And that actually might be why you end up like trying to eat as little as possible and still don't lose weight. That's the case for one of my clients. She came to me saying, well, I've been in a deficit for like a long time, and she was in a very big deficit. And I don't know why I'm not losing weight. So I looked at, her MyFitnessPal and was like, okay, A, too long of a deficit. B, too big of a deficit. So we had to do that reverse diet, and she was going to the gym, so she was building some muscles, so that sort of, I don't like the healed your metabolism thing, but that, increased her metabolism, and then we could go into a weight loss, fat loss phase. But you kind of have to go through that phase if you've been in a big deficit for that long. So that's the second risk. By the way, if you need some help with that, just book a free call with me below. I'll see if and how I can help you, and if I can, obviously I will. I've done it myself, my clients, all of my clients have done it. And yeah, but we have a higher risk of weight regain. Again, I can speak from experience because I was in a severe calorie deficit for such a long time. One day I snapped. And then I ended up binge eating for like 3 months, and I went from 59 kilos to 82 in that time frame. I was not proud of myself, and then that started with like 6 years of binge eating. I don't recommend. So obviously, if you manage to slowly increase your calories and really stick to that, you won't have any problem. But you have a risk of, just that fatigue of being in such a deficit that you snap and gain the weight back. Because you just end up overeating. It's not going to be a magical thing because you end up overeating. 4, you have some health issues that might happen. Gallstones were, linked to rapid weight loss. You might also suffer from nutrient deficiencies because obviously if you don't have that much room for food, you don't have that much room for specific vitamins and the healthy fats and all of that. Hormonal disruptions, especially for women. I did lose my periods that specific time, unfortunately, because I was eating so low. My body was like, I do not have the energy for anything more than you surviving. We're not doing that baby thing right now. So I lost my periods for like, I want to say 3-4 months, maybe 5, and maybe 6 for half a year. It was probably 6, but I didn't track back then. I just knew that I skipped a lot, or I didn't track on I don't know which app I was tracking on. So yeah, that's another huge problem, like hormonal disruption, and it has a name, amenorrhea, something like that. I'm gonna write it down, but it has a name. And another huge, risk with not eating as much is having electrolytes imbalance, and again, not having the proper food and nutrients and all of that. And I did feel dizzy very often, and headaches, and cold all the time. It's just not the most fun. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention, which I should have with the lean body mass thing, because it kind of goes with it. You might also lose bone density. Let's go there. And last, even if you do see results very quickly, which might motivate you to keep on going, another problem is it is so hard to be in a fast weight loss and that big of a deficit that you may struggle with sticking to the plan. So you may not be consistent with it for long enough, and again, that's when you sort of snap, bounce back, and regain the weight. That's a major con in my books as well. If it's not sustainable, it's very hard to stick to it long term. It's very hard to actually get to your dream weight, get to your ideal body, just because of that. Like, is it really a dream body if it's a nightmare to get to with like crazy deficit and a lot of workouts, a lot of cardio, a lot of HIIT just to, you know, get to that big deficit? Okay, let's move on to slow weight loss. Again, this is like a roughly 500 calorie deficit, if not lower, but I would definitely recommend 500. The first main advantage is that you keep your lean body mass. That's something I was obsessed with when I was doing, you know, my fat loss phase back in this spring. I was very obsessed with making sure that I didn't lose the muscle that I had been building for the past 3 years. So I was like, this was an obvious choice for me. All the research shows, or the same research I was mentioning shows, that you end up keeping a better, you know, a higher lean body mass if you do it slowly, because you're not in that big of a deficit. Therefore, the body doesn't feel the need to eat the muscles away. So, you know, if you want to keep your glutes, if you want to keep, you know, your muscle, back muscle, I do that, I have zero. Like, you can see a little, but it's very limited. Anyways, if you don't want to lose the muscle, which you really shouldn't for all the reasons I've mentioned, the second pro is that you will probably keep a higher, you know, energy expenditure, higher metabolism throughout the journey, just because even though it's normal as you lose weight to lower your metabolism, right? This is completely normal, because when you're less heavy, it requires less energy for your body to obviously, you know, move around. So it's normal as you lose weight to have a lower metabolism. But if you keep, you know, if you keep eating enough and if you keep your muscles, you're gonna have less of a crash. And that means it's way easier to maintain, by the way. I'm probably eating one of my points away here, because you're gonna have less of a risk of regaining if you do, you know, a slower weight loss, mostly because of that. It's going to be easier to not have that big of a drop, and therefore you're gonna eat more to still lose weight. And I have the proof. Like, that's one of my favorite latest message from one of my clients. She was like, I'm eating cinnamon roll and I'm still losing weight. And she's not supposed to lose too much weight just because she is more on a body recomp. Like, she is kind of started out as skinny fat and now we're building muscle, so she's losing a little bit. But since she's also building muscle, she's just started the gym with me, that helps with, you know, that transformation. And as I say, if you lose 1 kilo of, you know, fat but you gain 1 kilo of muscle, you will not see the difference on the scale, but you will see the difference in terms of aesthetic. Another big thing with like not being in that big of a deficit is it's more sustainable. You won't have that bad of a time. It allows for more flexibility, so you can go out, eat cinnamon rolls and all of that and still lose weight, because you're still going to be in that slow deficit, small deficit. So it makes it less miserable to get to your dream body. And when it's less extreme, you know, basically in my books, there is just a pendulum that goes like swing from one side to the other. And it's very hard to swing from the extremes when you're not doing extremes. So you're less likely to rebound. You're less likely to, you know, snap like I did, because you're not making yourself, you know, miserable in the process. And now let's talk about the cons for slow weight loss. The major one that I can see is you will see less results less quickly. Like, over time, you know, both people will get to the same result. It will just take more time for you if you're doing it the slow way. And when you're doing it the slow way, it may lower your motivation and therefore lower your discipline, because you're not seeing results. That's why I think a coach is key, because a lot of my clients, at first it drops very quickly because you lose, you know, that food weight, you lose that water weight, so it's all good. But then when you stick to that 500, you're only losing 500 grams per week. And a lot of them are like, well, I was hoping for it to be faster. And I get that, me too, but aren't you making your life better by doing it, you know, this way? You will see, like, in the end, you will come out feeling way better about yourself, not having dreaded the journey and still having the results that you wanted, if not better, because you don't lose your muscle mass, so you end up lean and toned instead of skinny fat. That's basically how I see it. But yeah, if you get discouraged when you don't see results quickly, which a lot of people do, it's a brain thing, it's a psychology thing, that's normal. That's when you need someone to actually, like, tell you, it's okay, you've got this, it's meant to be slow, like you should be lucky that it's slow, because again, it's a pendulum. If it's slow to, like, you know, lose weight, it's gonna be slow, if not happening, to gain the weight back, because you don't want to gain the weight back. Another major thing is, if it's slow, it takes longer to get to your weight loss goal. That's why I keep saying you don't want to, you know, be in a deficit for longer than 12, maybe 16 weeks, but that's pushing. I would never recommend you know, going for more than 12 weeks. Again, 16 if we're like really close and there's just like a little bit to go for. But if there's still like a lot, we're just gonna do 12 weeks, reverse diet, 12 weeks of fat loss again, reverse diet, and so on and so forth. And we stay in that reverse diet for like a few months. Yes, it takes a long of time, but then by the end, you've built, you know, discipline, you've built a new lifestyle, a new identity, and it just, you won't gain the weight back because of that. Because if you do it for 12 weeks and you lose a bunch of weight because you did it the fast way and you didn't take the time to build an identity, build a lifestyle, understand why you're doing it, understand how to maintain it, you know, that weight loss, you're going to gain the weight back because you're going to see it as a quick program and then I'm going to go back to my old lifestyle. No, you can't. There's no old lifestyle to go back to. That's why when you do it the slow way, you basically see this as, you know what, I'm in it for the long term, I'm going to do it the sustainable way, and I'm going to keep on doing it even after, because it's become a part of me since I've been, you know, doing the tracking, doing the protein, doing the gym, doing the cardio for such a long time. That is just a part of me now. Now, obviously, if one of the, you know, group has a higher or better improvement in health markers, that means that the other one has not as good of an improvement, I guess. So one of the cons is you may not see as good of an improvement in the health markers that I was mentioning before, like insulin and, you know, lipids and all of that. But if that's something you don't have, you know, a major need to change, it's not a big deal. In conclusion, what should you do? Well, one study shows that neither are, because in both groups, they had the same amount of weight regain. Obviously, that's not what you want. Like, if you lose the weight only to regain it, what's the point? But a major thing about that, as I keep telling you, is because it has to become an identity. It has to become part of your lifestyle, to work out, to eat. That's why you often need someone who will walk you through the maintenance phase. Like, that's what I do with my clients. Most of them, we work for 6 months together, if not more, like a year, because we need to go through a fat loss phase, and then I walk them through the maintenance. So we basically figure out their lifestyle that they will maintain for good, well, with a few tweaks here and there, depending on life, you know, getting in the way. But the point stays the same. You have to make it a lifestyle and see it as a lifelong journey versus something you're going to do for 3-6 months and then you're going back to your old lifestyle. So if you have the wrong mindset when you do it, there's no really superior methods. But in my opinion, and you know, as I've basically showed in this video, I do believe that slow weight loss, 500 gram, which isn't really slow. It's not like you're losing 100 gram per week. It's like 500. It's a pound, like a full pound. For comparison, I need this like specific picture with the muscle and the pen, because that's one of my favorite picture, because it shows that it doesn't look like much. It is a lot. It is a lot, and you will see the difference, especially when, you know, when you lose weight really quickly, you may end up losing a lot of water weight, a lot of muscle weight, and a lot of food weight, and it will come back immediately as soon as you start eating more, and you won't see that many changes in the first place in your body. Now you do whatever you want, but I gave you what I think about this topic, and this was, should you lose weight fast and over a short period of time, or quick, that's the same, or slow over a longer period of time. Drop any questions if you have them. Make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to be posting more regularly now that I'm back home, and I'll see you in the next one.